So today we are going to discuss about the factors that affect the supply of a good, or how we call the determinants of supply. These factors which changes the supply of a good, they are called determinants of supply. They are called determinants of supply. So we can say that the supply of a commodity changes due to change in a number of factors which are called determinants of supply. So the supply of a good changes due to change in change in a number of factors in a number of factors which we called which we call or whom we termed as determinants of supply. They are called determinants of supply. So those factors which determine the supply of a commodity, determinants of supply. So what are these determinants? These are few. Now we will discuss one by one. First of all, the first factor which changes the supply of a commodity, which brings considerable change, which is an important player in the field of supply, that is price of the good or price of the commodity. जिस कमोडिटी की हम बात करते हैं, जिसके सप्लाई के बारे में हम सोचते हैं कि इसकी सप्लाई कम रहेगी, ज्यादा रहेगी इस चीज की, तो उस चीज का जो प्राइस है, अपना प्राइस है, वो डिटरमाइन करता है कि इसकी सप्लाई ज्यादा रहेगी या कम रहेगी. As we know, there is direct and positive relationship between price of a good and the supply of a good. It's price and supply. When market prices increase, the suppliers will supply more and more. Thus, price is the important factor, important determinant which determine the supply of a good or on which supply of a good depends. Thus, we can say the supply of a good depends upon the price, depends upon its own price. Thus, the supply of a good depends upon the price of the good. The price of the good. Price of the good. So as we know, when price rises, the supply also rises. And when price falls, the supply also falls. Other things remaining same. Other things remain same. So we can say there is direct and positive relationship between price and quantity supply. Here we clarify it that the supply of a good depends upon its price. When price falls, supply falls. When price rises, supply rises. So when price rises, the supply also rises. When price falls, the supply also falls. This is the first factor. Second is cost of production. Cost of production. Cost of production is that the amount on which a product is made up of. किस कीमत पे ये प्रोडक्ट तैयार हुआ है, that is cost of production. So supply of a product also changes with the change in its costs. When this cost itself depends upon the price of factors. For example, price of factors we mean rent, wages, interest, profit. When price of factors increase, cost of production increase. So when price of factors increase, it increases the cost of production, which decreases the supply. So we can say when cost of production increases, the supply decreases because there is less profitability in the product for the producers. So they will supply less. Naturally, they will supply less. So they will supply that commodity more in which there is more profitability. So profitability is directly related with the cost of production. When cost of production increases, the profitability decreases. Profitability decreases because product has to face so many competition in the market. So supply of a product, we can say supply of a product also depends upon or changes with change in costs, which change in costs when price of factors or factor prices, when price of factors like rent, wages, interest, etc. increases, the cost of production increase. The cost of production increase, which decreases supply, which decreases supply, which decreases the supply. So supply is inversely related with cost of production. So we can say supply is inversely related with cost of production, with cost of production. So when cost of production increases, the supply decreases. When cost of production decreases, the supply increases. Thus, cost of production itself depends upon factor prices, rent, wages, interest, and profit. Number third is number of sellers in the market or number of producers in the market, number of sellers or producers. So if in the market the number of sellers, it is natural. When number of sellers increase, the supply increase in the market. When number of sellers decrease, the supply decreases. Thus, the supply also depends upon the number of sellers. So, supply also depends upon number of sellers. When number of sellers increase, the number of sellers increase, the supply increases in the market. And vice versa. That means when number of sellers decrease, the supply also decrease. These are three. And the fourth one is, this is very simple, number of sellers. It is very simple. The fourth one is very important one, price of related goods. Number 4 is price of related goods. Price of related goods. The increase in the price of related goods decrease the supply of the commodity and decrease in the price of related. How it works? For example, we have two goods, X and Y. They are related to each other. For example, they are substitutes to each other. If price of Y increases, the quantity supply of X will decrease because producers will shift from X to Y. So when price of related good decreases, the supply of this commodity will also when if price of Y, the price of increase in the price of related goods, increase in the price of related goods, decrease the supply of this commodity. Why? Because people shift, decrease the price supply of the commodity, and decrease in the price of related goods, increase the supply, increase the supply. So how this works? The increase in price of related goods, related goods, increase in the price of related goods, decrease the supply of, decrease the supply of a good, supply of a good, and decrease in the price of, and decrease in the price of related goods, related goods, increase the supply of, the supply of a good. So अगर रिलेटेड गुड्स का प्राइस डिक्रीज हो जाएगा, इस जिसकी हम बात करते हैं, जिस चीज की हम बात करते हैं, उसकी सप्लाई इंक्रीज हो जाएगी. अगर रिलेटेड गुड का प्राइस इंक्रीज हो जाएगा, इसकी सप्लाई डिक्रीज हो जाएगा, और उसकी सप्लाई, अगर उसका प्राइस डिक्रीज हो जाएगा, इसकी सप्लाई इंक्रीज हो जाएगी. नंबर 5 is technology or change in technology. This is very important factor, change in technology. So technological change or technological improvement always reduces the cost of production. When new technologies comes in the market, they reduce the cost of production. So when cost of production is reduced, the profits increase and producers will supply more and more. So if such a technology is increased, which decreases the cost of production, the supply will increase. Thus, change in technology or new discoveries, thus change in technology or new discoveries reduces the cost of production, reduces the cost of production, reduces the cost of production, which increases the supply, which increases the supply, which increases the supply. Or we can say, if primitive and old technologies are introduced, they are used, that increases the cost, which decreases the supply. So change in technology also plays a role in changing the supply of a good. 6th is price expectation. Price expectations. Price expectation means what sellers or producers expect the price change in future. If producers or sellers expect that prices will increase in future, they will hoard today, they will supply less, they will increase their stock and supply less. So if producers or sellers expect price increase in future, the supply will decrease. If they expect price fall in future, the supply will increase. So if sellers expect price rise in future, price rise in future, अगर वो expect करेंगे that price will rise in future, the supply decreases, present supply decreases, supply decreases. If they expect price fall in future, the quantity supply at present, the quantity supply at present increases. Thus we can say that price rise in future decreases the supply, price fall in future increases the supply. So this is all about the factors which changes or affect the supply of a good. How price changes, how technological change, how number of sellers change, they change the supply of the good. Thank you very much. This is all about the determinants of supply.